Now, as a prompt here, or as part of a prompt, I'll start by saying you are an AI assistant that's optimized to write concise, friendly, and professional emails to customers. So I'm assigning a role here. And of course, I'm doing this here right in my code. So I'm hard coding this into my program so that anyone who executes that program will always get a prompt that includes this role. That allows me to focus this program on this specific use case and scenario, which is the idea of building your own programs that use these GPT models under the hood. But now I also want to enhance this prompt and also blend in some dynamic content that's actually entered by the user of this program, so by the person who will execute this program in the future. And for that, I'll now continue with this prompt by adding a goal to it in the end, where I will say, write an email to a customer with the name. And then here I want to insert the customer name. We'll add this soon. That contains the following optimized content. And then here I want to describe the content that should make up the email. And the idea is that soon the user of this program will be able to provide the name of the customer to whom an email should be sent and a rough summary of the content of the email. And this program here will then generate an optimized, friendly, and professional email to that customer, allowing the user who uses this program to save time by just providing these rough inputs instead of coming up with the entire email on their own. I'll then also conclude here by saying the email signature should contain the name of the agent or customer agent who wrote the email. And then that should also be dynamic, so that the user of the program should be able to provide the customer name, the description of the content of the email, and then their name, so the name of the customer agent. And that's now where this prompt template thing comes into play. This prompt template thing allows us to specify a couple of input variables. For example, content, customer name, and agent name. And these variables are totally up to you. It's up to you how many you want to use and what their names are. Here you just need a list of strings that describe these input variables. And you can then use these variables here in the places where they should be used inside of this template by using opening and closing curly braces, and then between those braces, the name of the variable that should be inserted in that place. So here, for example, customer name, here at the end, content, and down here, agent name. And behind the scenes, once we use this prompt, which we will do in a second, LangChain will go ahead and swap these placeholders here with the actual content provided by the user. Now, to do that, we need to use this template, and we need to collect that input from the user. So for that, I'll create more variables, for example, a content variable, which uses Python's built-in input function to collect some input from the user, in this case, the email content, followed by the name of the customer, which is also collected with the input function. And last but not least, of course, also the name of the agent. So here I have the agent name, and that is collected like this. Now here, by the way, content, customer name, and agent name don't have to match these names. They do here in my case, but that's not required. I could also just collect the input like this. But now we can use this prompt that was created with that prompt template to send a request to OpenAI with help of LangChain. So instead of writing all that request code ourselves, as we did it earlier in that API course section, now we can instead leverage LangChain by simply calling LLM as a function. So this variable here as a function. If you chose a different name here, you have to use the different name down there. And then to that function, you pass prompt, so this prompt here, or whichever variable name you used here, dot format, to create a text version of that prompt or a formatted version of that prompt. And now to format, you pass your input variables as key value pairs. For example, here in my case, content, because I chose content as a name here, equals, and then the value that should be used as a value for content in the prompt. So in my case, the value stored in this content variable. Then thereafter, the values for the other variables, like customer name, which in my case here is equal to customer, and agent name, so this variable, which in my case should be equal to this value, like this. And this now generates a prompt based on that prompt template and sends it to the GPT model in the end, to OpenAI. And this then gives us a response which we can save and which we can output. And we don't have to dive into that response and manually get the generated text. Instead, LangChain will do this for us, and the response we get here will already be the final text generated by GPT. So if you now save this file, you can execute it with help of the system terminal. And I'll do this here by running Python emailgenerator.py, which is my file name here. And I now have to provide input for the email content, the customer name, and the agent name. It just can take a short while until it's ready to take input, but then at some point you can take the email content. And here, for example, let's say we got a complaint by a customer about a product they ordered, let's say a cup or whatever, and they're complaining that the product is broken, and now we want to reply back to them that we can send them a replacement or offer a refund. So here I will say, sorry about the broken cup, we can replace it or offer a refund. So that's the short summary of the reply, but that's of course not what we would typically send directly to the customer. Instead, we're now going to use this AI program, which we built here with help of LangChain, to let these GPT models generate a better response for us. So that's the content of the email. Let's say the customer name is Michael Smith. And let's say our name, in my case here, is Maximilian Schwarzmuller, or whatever your name is. And if I hit enter now, LangChain will do its job and send those requests to OpenAI. And I get back this beautiful email. And that, of course, now hopefully shows you the power of your own AI programs, as you could also build them without LangChain, but here build with LangChain, which in the end simply simplifies your life and leads to simpler code that you can write. And behind the scenes, LangChain then uses OpenAI as you learned it before. And that's therefore a first basic introduction to LangChain.